Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Stately Office Hours. This is where we, most of us, the team at Stately, give you an update on everything that is going on with Stately and with XState. I'm going to start, as we do every week, with introducing the team or introducing everyone that we have here today. So I'm Laura, and I do advocacy and other stuff for Stately. Next up, David. Who are you?
I'm David, founder of Stately, creator of XState.
And Mateusz.
I'm Andarius. I work on types. Primarily, I work on types. I'm a senior types developer at Stately.
And Anders.
I'm Anders. I create software here at Stately.
And I'm just going to skip the middle for now, and I'll go to Farzad.
Hey, I'm Farzad, and I create software at Stately.
And Nick.
I'm Nick, and I do product design.
And Kevin.
Hi everyone, I'm Kevin. I'm doing engineering.
And last but not least, we are so excited to welcome Sunil from PartyKit. Hi, Sunil.
Hi everyone. My name's Sunil. I'm the founder of PartyKit, a platform for building real-time multiplayer applications, and super excited to be here and see what you all have been doing with PartyKit and Stately.
We're so excited to show you too that we've got so much cool stuff to share today. Sunil, do you want to tell us a bit about what you've been up to with PartyKit recently? Like, where are you at with it?
Well, PartyKit started sometime in the end of last year, where I was like, oh, it'll be a nice little lifestyle business. And then it turned out a lot of people wanted it. So the last 6 to 9 months have been product building and company building. In fact, early next week, we're going to be announcing the actual team. So don't tell anyone else, just the 6 of you, like 7 of you now know about it. We have a lot of things. Like it's gone from being Sunil's side project to being a real serious platform, analytics, support. The whole thing has been open sourced. You can check it out at github.com/PartyKit. You can use it today to deploy onto the planetary compute surface. People have been using it in interesting stuff. Like I started with, it would be nice to have a shared text editor, but now there are state machines on the edge. People use it for AI agents. It's coming along well. We should put up a billing page at some point. I think we should start charging money for it. That should be a good idea. But yeah, it's coming along really well. It's now gone from being a, hey, this would be a good idea to there's a whole company, product, platform, team behind it. And we have some money in the bank. So that's good.
Very exciting. Well, then, I think that we better show you all what we've been working on with PartyKit, headed up by Anders. You've been working on this for a while, haven't you, Anders?
Yeah, we've been actually enjoying a quiet collaboration with Sunil and PartyKit for a while. And yeah, today we're not ready to release anything yet, but we are ready to share some previews and disclose that we've actually already released something that you've all seen before. So it's going to be a reveal of an existing thing and some new things coming along.
Excellent.
So,
We love to say that everyone in office hours gets to see everything first. And so we're definitely speaking that into existence today.
yeah. So I have a few slides I can show with how we envision this thing will look. And it is still in preview, so the API and what you'll see here might end up changing. But as I've said, we've already been working together for a while. And one of the things that's already in production today is our live sim mode, which is powered by PartyKit. Some of you might already have tried this, and we're kind of ready to take this to the next level. And Sunil has been helping a lot with this because it's not as straightforward as I thought initially, just to deploy state machines to the edge, especially not when you want to go straightly from what you can edit in the studio to have something running really quickly on the edge. But luckily, we have a good friend in Sunil who's been helping us. So we're thinking that this thing that you'll end up using inside your own app is going to be a new package, probably going to be named Stately AI Connect. And today we'll show you 2 of those APIs. One of them is called Create Live Machine, what it'll let you do, it'll let you just drop in a machine version ID from a machine you have created in the studio, and we'll release an updated version of TypeGen. So when you just put in actually this just first line of code, create live machine, you'll have the machine on your own hardware, and it'll be fully type safe. It'll know everything from inside that machine. So that's going to be like your super shortcut from going from visual diagramming to actually running inside your own application. So this is the first part of it. The second part, which is going to be really, really interesting, is like create live actor, where we not only get the machine on your machine, or get the flow on your machine, but we actually also kind of use PartyKit to coordinate everything, coordinate events, coordinate the state. So if you use this API, create live actor, you now have an actor that's running on the edge. And when that actor updates, it updates everywhere where you share this session ID. So you can think of this as like it could be a document ID. If you're thinking Google Docs, it could be a user ID or like a machine ID. This is how you kind of segment who has access to updates from this actor. So these are the two very sort of high level things that we are sneak peeking today. And Nick has been building out just a tiny demo to show what you can do on the prototyping side of things with these new APIs.
Exciting. Well, so without further ado, Nick, shall we share what you've been doing then?
Yeah, so I just have a quick demo for kind of showing how this works from the studio perspective. And again, this is a work in progress. This is at least a couple months out for release still, until release still. So what you're seeing now is an early preview, but it should help give the idea of what we're working on here. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so I have a machine here, which I made in the studio. And what this machine is about is last time we got together as a team, we learned to make some of the best pastries ever, which are pastel de nata. And I made this machine based on, I think, what Laura and Kevin made earlier from their photos to remind us of how to make this wonderful pastry. But it's kind of, whenever you're cooking, it's kind of hard to see, to follow all of these lines and arrows and such. You just want to see one step at a time. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and hit this new deploy button here. And you can see this is where we get, just for now, we'll see how this, but for now, you get an API key for the project. And now you can insert that into your code. And then you could use this workflow in your code. So what I'll do for this demo is I'll click deploy new workflow. And so I've made a new workflow based on this machine. And to try, just as a demo, we have a try flow button here. And I'll click that. And what it did is it opened up a demo app, which is using the machine to drive it. And so first of all, you can see there's an image here, and this is an asset, a media asset that's being attached to each state. And so we're taking that and using this to automatically generate a rough prototype that you could actually try out and walk people through and have this the visual context associated with each state. And just as a small detail, there is a PartyKit icon in the corner, or like a little party emoji in the corner for each participant who is here. So what we can do is we can step through and we're ready. So now the two events which we can choose are, we're supposed to knead our dough. So now does it feel needed, or oops, we should start over? Well, I think it feels needed. And add butter. Okay, we added the butter. That's enough butter. And then we're supposed to fold it. We'll say the dough is ready. Let's make the custard. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. to assemble them. Well, you know what? We ran out of custard, so I think we have to step back and we have to make more custard. But again, that custard looks delicious. So we'll put that in, we'll move on and we'll assemble it again, the rest, and we'll start baking. It's baking. And we'll go ahead and, oh, it's not done yet. We need to put it back in a little longer. Oh, I guess. So now we'll go ahead and serve. And so then we eat. So just kind of a quick example of basically we created this flow in Stately Studio, and we attached assets to each media assets to each state, and we deployed a workflow based on that machine, which we used in a test app. So then we just in that test app we kind of stepped through the flow, if that makes sense.
And would we be able to, so you showed that the PartyKit icon there in the top corner, does that mean that other people will be able to then see how you're working through your machine live?
Yes, it does. And for more on that, Mr. Anders might take over.
Yeah, let me share my screen here and we can show another super simple example. I saw that we also got a question of, is the context of the live actor shared in the cloud? And it most definitely is. So let's say I have this simple counter machine I've created here.
Could you just zoom it in a touch, Anders?
Of course.
Perfect, thank you.
We only ever have this one node where it's in idle state, but we have two transitions. We can either increment or decrement, and it's using the XState assign action to update the count in the context. So if I go ahead and deploy this thing, and to me, just alone that it's so quick what Sunil has helped us build, it just feels magical. I click this button and now we have like PartyKit running and we've deployed this machine as a workflow through PartyKit through another backend and everything's just available. It's magic. So if I hit try flow now, it's connecting to those bits and I'm in the idle state. I can either increment or I can decrement, and you can see I'm now at 10. If I refresh, I'm still at 10. I can open this in another tab. It's still at 10. If I increment some more here, it's 23. If I go back, it's also 23. And all this is happening in real time because PartyKit helps us coordinate this. So yeah, it feels pretty magical. And I mean, we're not sure exactly how to look. Once we finish this thing up, it'll be a lot smoother, not this rough on the edges, but it's already pretty magical, I think. And for fun, we have like a little fun thing at the end where if you go to, let me share a link here, bit.ly/multi-emoji, I think it was. I can only share it in the private chat, so I wonder if anyone could bring it up.
Ooh, this will be fun.
And I was really scrambling just before the demo, so I don't know how much will break here, but everyone that's kind of on board gets their own emoji. You can choose space to change it, and if you click, you kind of insert multiple of your own. Like, and this is just a super simple state machine, and like using PartyKit to coordinate all the events. Like, it does truly feel magical. Like state machines needs to party.
It's a very festive one.
Yeah.
Lots of Santas, Christmas trees.
So I think that's about it for a sneak peek today, and we're pretty excited to hear what people think and get some ideas on how this could be useful.
This is awesome.
Fabulous. Well, I'd say first off, Sunil, what do you think?
It's just, oh, it's so heartening to see people use this stuff. When I started making PartyKit, one of the insights I had was that there was about 15 years of pent-up desire to build real-time multiplayer stuff, but it's always been a hard computer science problem. It's a distributed systems problem, and it's extremely expensive, like to get the infrastructure and to hire people and pay them salaries. And the physics changes with PartyKit, which means people are like, okay, I don't have to worry about how it's made anymore. I just want to focus on building experiences. So to see you all take it and be like, well, what if we put 6,000 emoji on a screen is absolutely amazing for me. Like, this is extremely cool. I will go back to my team and talk to them about it. It should be fun. I think they might be watching right now, in fact.
Awesome.
As Martin says, this is infinitely incredible. And it's funny, looking back to Nick's demo earlier, John said, I'm not used to seeing recipes on the internet that aren't 100 pages long and made mostly of ads and anecdotes I don't care about. And it's funny to think how people might even just use that way of running through a machine to display information in a different way. It doesn't necessarily have to be traditional state machine kinds of things. But when I was watching Nick's demo, the thing that jumped into my head was, oh, this would be so useful if you were just presenting like the UI for how you're going to build an app. Like, how brilliant it would be to be able to walk through it with someone that you're presenting to, and you've got an image there that's for each, or like different resources there for each state. That would be really cool to use. It makes it a lot more like accessible to the rest of your team.
Mm-hmm. I also want to mention. I just want to mention, if you go to partykit.io, both me and Honors are on the testimonial section, and I have a very short one where I just say it's the future of workflows. Just because when you traditionally think of a workflow that needs to run in a distributed way and might be long running, etc., it seems like this big, hefty thing where, like, okay, you need a workflow engine to do it, and it's like, do this step, then do that step. But at Stately, since state machines can be used in many different contexts, PartyKit lets us reimagine the way that we think of workflows. So basically, your game essentially is a workflow. Like this Bitmoji game, like you would not program, I don't know, like a multiplayer game using AWS step functions, for instance. That just doesn't make sense. But in Stately, stuff like that is possible. So it doesn't matter whether you're running tiny little workflows or big, long-running workflows. Like at Stately, we should believe that it should all be the same. You should just make a state machine or an actor system for it, and then just easily deploy it. And so that's why I'm really excited about PartyKit and Stately.
That's very cool. Nick, what were you going to say earlier?
Oh, I was just going to add to what you said, Laura. And yes, this attaching assets and media to states is something which we'll probably be sharing more of in the coming months.
I can certainly see that we'll be using it ourselves as well. Yeah, as Ben said, this has wild implications for design teams and testing experiments. Totally. Hey, you could even run like user research experiments using this, like using the old sort of cards that you would use in the past for like sorting through with user testing. Hey, you could do that just with a state machine and get it set up a lot more quickly as well. So John said if we could streamline getting Figma assets into a live machine, it would be an easy sell for the team. Oh, trust us, Nick has been advocating for this one for a very long time.
We have ideas for this, yeah.
Kits.js asks, is Stately using something like YJS under the hood?
Not in production yet. That's
Oh.
the short answer.
We've had some experiments in the past, and we are planning some refactors to make it easier, where basically Stately would use YJS and PartyKit to allow you to edit machines at the same time visually. And so we think that that's really cool. And also like just get other features like presence, commenting, things like that. We want to make editing these diagrams a truly interactive experience, and collaborative too, of course.
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for that for sure. Did anyone else have anything that they wanted to share around all of this exciting Stately Sky work?
I just want to reiterate that, I mean, we've been blessed with Sunil's help on all of this, so just wanted to extend my gratitude if you didn't feel it already, but we're so happy to have him help us.
It's been absolutely wonderful. I'm a big fan of the product. I think Stately will win. And it's honestly been great Also, it's nice talking to people in my own time zone. Sorry, Americans. Like, it's just nice to talk to Anders during a reasonable time of the day. So that's made it really wonderful for me.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah, someone in the same time zone as you, Sunil. I love talking to Anders too. Ben says, thinking of things like TanStack router, putting more state into the URL, you could build incredible experiences and applications.
Yeah, I think that's part of the idea behind, just PartyKit, and also Stately in general, is just the idea that state should be something that, you read from somewhere and then you persist somewhere else. So where that state lives should be location independent rather than having to live in a very specific place. So
one of the ideas I was thinking about with state machines in particular is you have a state machine that either represents something or is hidden by an application. But at one point of time, you can probably fork it into two separate machines where people work on it separately. And either it lives on separately, but then at one point you might want to like merge it back again, which is nice because it's just a regular machine language which has like its own constraints. So you'll be like, okay, fine. Like you find what active state you can actually merge into. Sorry, I don't know if that, I like doing a little bit of weird thinking at this point. It's pretty exciting, the implications of making sure that everything else is now simple enough so that you can now expand on the possibilities of what you can do with this. It's very cool.
Exactly.
Truly, the value of XState, that's for sure. Loving all the love today. So, this is really exciting by itself, but we were worried that if we saved more features to share with you till next office hours, we would get overwhelmed because there has been so much going on. I went away for a long weekend. I came back and sort of my brain exploded with the amount that had been released in the time that I'd been gone. So what we thought we would do is show you a little feature that is now available to pro users. And if you follow David on Twitter, you may have had a sneak peek of it already. And that is generating flows. So I'm going to share my screen for this. Let's make sure it's the right one. There we go. So we get a lot of people requesting examples that they want to see of state machines, because a lot of the time you might be new and you want to see, oh, what is a state machine supposed to look like? They want to see the best practices. They want an idea of how it works. Or maybe they've got a really complex example in mind and they don't just want to have to build it themselves. And so we have a really cool new feature for this. Now, I'm just looking here. This is just the examples on our feedback.stately.ai board. So if you have any examples you want to request from us, come here. But I will probably point you in the direction of this feature now. So I'm just going to scroll through and find an example. Oh, here we go. Modals draw toast notifications. I'm going to choose toast notifications. And now I'm going to go now. Forgive me my light mode. It just worked better with the light mode of the feedback board. So here I'm going to go to generate flow. Now this is visible if you are logged in as a pro user. Remember, you can sign up for a free trial for 30 days as a pro user. No obligation. You can just get in and try this right away. So I'm going to go, I want to generate a flow for, toast notification that shows, when should my toast notification show? When there's a new message. New message. And now I have the option. That's a good point. I should probably say when it disappears as well. The notification. I need it. The notification disappears, especially when I'm typing. The notification disappears after 30 seconds. Now I have the option here. I can either modify the current flow, which would modify the machine that I've got open here already. Or if I switch that off, I can generate a new flow inside of that same project. So I'm going to generate. And you can see here that I've currently used 6 of my 1,000 calls this month. I discovered this morning that resets at the beginning of the month. I was very confused. I was like, wow, I suddenly got all my calls left, not realizing we are in September. Now this takes a little minute or so to generate, especially depending on the complexity of your machine. Here we go. So there we go. We have a very simple little toast notification state machine. So the initial state is hidden. The toast notification is hidden. And then it shows, it has an action for starting the timer. And then it goes to the visible state. We have an entry action of showing the notification. And when it exits the visible state, we have an exit action for hiding the notification. And then when we transition through hide, the timer gets reset and we go back to the hidden state. And you could generate much more exciting machines than this. I tried to go for a relatively simple example because, of course, the more complex the machine, the longer it will take to generate. And I didn't want you all waiting around all day. But here you go. I actually generated some really cool machines today. I'm having great fun with this. And let's see some of the other. Oh, I did a debounce machine earlier. And that was pretty straightforward. And of course, once you have generated a flow, you can edit it as you like. It also will save that flow, the generated version, in your versions. And the title that it has for the version is the prompt that you use. So if you want to go back and remember, oh, what flow description did I add? You could just check it out in the versions of the machine. Anything else that I missed there, folks?
Eric asked not using after transition. So as you could see in this debounce machine, it did generate an after transition. And so just some technical details behind the generation. It does understand all parts of XState v4. Eventually, we'll get it up to speed with XState v5. But yes, it will do after transitions. It's sort of hit or miss, and we will be just tweaking the way that we do this generation so that we could more accurately recognize when you do want after transitions, because those do make sense. But yeah, I just want to say that it's not just a simple flow. It could do anywhere from nested states to parallel states. If something requires a history state, it could probably do that. It also understands things like final states. Yeah, so this is much more advanced than your typical, like, just generate a simple diagram for me.
Absolutely. And I've done some very complex flows today, and it's very capable of doing that. And of course, as with anywhere where you generate the materials for you, sometimes you'll need to give it a little bit of tweaking afterwards. That's just the way these things go. They can't read our minds. They don't know the perfect ways of doing anything. But we are also going to look into training those on our own best practice machines, so that we can teach it how to generate machines in the most ideal way possible.
Mm-hmm. And soon, when we already have this out in experimental preview, and when workflows, all the PartyKit stuff gets released, it's going to be like a matter of a few clicks and like a little text before you go from nothing to a fully running multiplayer app. And I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. I'm so excited for that.
I'm just thinking of another feature that Kevin has been working on that we're going to keep quiet for now. But once you throw that into the mix as well, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so easy. I'm really excited. It's going to make everything so quick. So Zoramel asks, where can I find those best practice machines? That is a good question. We do have plenty of machines that you can discover in the Discover section of Stately, although that is all the public machines made using Stately. We're definitely working on best practice machines. I've actually been working on getting all of the machines that we use ourselves in the studio itself into a format that I can share with you all, and that will be very fun. We've also got loads of examples that are currently in our XState repo. Let me find the link for that. This one is specifically for that's XState v5.
Which, v5 is now the default branch. So if you go to /dailyai/xstate, then it will drop you into v5.
And if you look into the examples folder in there, it's in the top level of the repo, you'll see a huge number of examples, including loads for workflows and other simple examples. And what is really great is you can import the machines from any of those examples into Studio, and you can see how they're visualized from there. I'd really recommend doing that. It's quite a fun exercise in learning. I do it a lot, and it's been helping me learn stuff about state machines too. I was going to say something else about that. Oh yes, because you can also use the GitHub import for that too. So that's a really easy way of getting your machines very quickly in. So you could go to the specific page on GitHub that has the machine in it. You can take that URL, change the stately.ai to the github.com URL to github.stately.ai, and that will import that machine into the studio for you without you having to do any copy and pasting. So it's very handy. Is there that's a good URL.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. All right, I get you.
Yep.
So John asks, any interesting details about training an AI to generate state machines and XState?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's been sort of a fun process, but still a process that's very much in flux as we're I don't know, just using a lot of OpenAI's capabilities to do so. I will say that no user machines have been used in any sort of training data. So we were able to do it without that in order to mitigate privacy concerns and things like that. But yeah, so we do have a lot of interesting ideas for basically having Stately be a co-pilot for your machines. And one of the most exciting things that I find about this is that we're working at a higher level of abstraction than just GitHub Copilot, which works mainly on the code. Like we are working on basically that level of abstraction where, like we say at Stately, it's a way for you to have that shared language and communicate with your entire team and think at the logic level of like, okay, let's say I'm making a game. Here's all the states in my game. Here's how things can change. And then you could fill in the implementation details later rather than just providing a prompt and hoping that it spits out the right code. Yeah, so I've experimented with like function calling, things like that. Both 3.5 and 4 seem to work equally well. Right now we're using 3.5 under the hood because it's a little bit faster, and eventually we're going to include streaming, which is also a very interesting challenge because we're essentially streaming like JSON blocks, which aren't really streamable. So we have to, make that streamable in a way. Whereas like most of the OpenAI examples that you see in the wild are streaming text. So you could just display the text. But we do want to show that. And we want to show you the machine being built out as, while you're waiting, basically. Sort of a long-winded answer, but yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
That reminded me of the value of also modifying machines, like modifying the flows that you've already got. One of the things that I did earlier was that I generated a machine and it was very complex and it looked unnecessarily complex. And so I then went back and modified it with the flow description of simplify this machine. And it did it. It was great. So it's capable of doing things like that as well.
I noticed that you're able to bully ChatGPT sometimes where you say, hey, can you write an email for me? And it does it for you. And you're like, no, that's not good. Make it better. And it does. So like, why doesn't it just do that in the beginning? You can just say, no, I don't like that. Like, make it better.
Yeah, and you could probably totally do that. Like, I know that Eric was asking about after transitions. You could probably go back to that machine and be like, hey, add an after transition instead of actions. And it would do that for you, most likely.
Yeah, I think we're actually getting to the point where we could use voice commands to make state machines, aren't we?
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Very cool. Ben says, filling in the void in a big way for the missing no code / generative tools for APIs. Incredible. 100%.
Yeah. I like it. So I think that the current tools today for like, oh yeah, just give me a description of an app and I'll generate code are pretty cool, but it's sort of like the equivalent of saying, make me a building, and it paints you a picture of a building where it's like, hey, this is roughly what your building looks like, right? And then you're like, hey, I want to change things, add features. It's like, yeah, that's going to be really hard. Whereas with this one, it's basically the state machine acts as the scaffolding and the foundation and the structure and the plumbing of the building. So it becomes easy to modify it over time. And so that's one of the biggest value props of state machines. And that's why I think that using LLMs and generation, we could take a huge advantage of that rather than just spitting out raw code.
John asks, can it apply colors?
Not yet, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great way of being able to apply colors to multiple states and events at once as well. Oh, thank you. John reworded that. I understood what you meant. As Ben said, current tools equals painting state machines equals 3D
love that
printer.
I'm going to screenshot that.
Fabulous. Oh, Martin says, I found that staying generic, it's good for putting features you haven't thought about initially.
Yeah. So going back to like the workflow tools and no-code tools and things like that, one of the biggest problems I found with them, as cool and easy as they are, is, and Laura knows this working with some of the Zapier flows that we had, or Zaps, I guess they're called, is that you have to really know what integration you want, and you have to like do it step by step, and you have to fill out all that information up front. But with this, it's like, hey, I just have a general idea for a flow that I want, and I want to fill in the details later. And so, that's basically what we do, and that's something that AI could take advantage of and fill in the details later for you. So
if you're someone who's scared of a blank canvas when it comes to like drawing your diagrams, it's a great way for you to get started. So, did anyone else have anything they wanted to share about generating flows or anything else in this office hours? It feels like it's been quite the office hours. Well, I have one more thing that I wanted to share with you all, and that is that I am speaking at JSDay IE. That's in Ireland, in Dublin, so not too far away from me here, on the 26th of September. So if you're in Ireland, because I know Dublin is the centre of Ireland, you've got to come see me there. Come say hi. Let me know if you're going to be there. I would love to meet you all. And oh yeah, and woo from Gavin. And we have plenty of other events coming up soon, and we will let you know very soon about those too. Great. Before I wrap up, anything else that the team wanted to add, or any other questions that anyone has that you want to ask us in the comments? You take your opportunity and go for it.
I have a
Sunil.
question. Is the logo meant to be the Korean finger heart? Is that what the logo is?
I think it's co-opted to mean that now. Now that
okay, cool.
I know Michael Chan has talked about that, but the origin is a little bit more nerdy than that.
I don't care. No, it's the finger heart now. That's all I care about.
Okay. I should write a small article on that, but it's the lowercase delta, which is sort of that like squiggly thing, and sort of like a negative space S for stately. And the lowercase delta is the transition function. So if you go on Wikipedia, like that's what it is. So, but I do like that.
That's really good. Awesome.
Sunil, is your logo a reference to Banksy?
Sure. Now that you've said it. It's one of those things where either you spend way too much time thinking about what your logo, etc., should be, and you'll get it wrong. And I was like, you know what? I'll just pick an emoji and we'll think about it later. But now, like the red balloon is what everyone uses for PartyKit. So sure, Banksy. I like that. That makes it sound like a much more cooler considered decision than it actually was.
Yeah, emoji is a great idea. Very easy to use everywhere as well. Supported all over the place. John asks, we're going to catch him out now. What's Fuzzard working on?
Some more exciting stuff.
We woke him up.
His accounting material.
Yeah, that's mostly what he's been working on today, that's for sure.
I will say, I know probably this wasn't the intention of the question, but Farzad has been working on some event schema things, which sounds like a relatively constrained thing, but it's actually going to enable so many things within the studio. Basically, those generated user interfaces that you saw earlier today, imagine if they were actually forms where you could add payload into them and those were automatically generated. That's what event schemas and more sort of allow you to do. So that's what he's working on.
He agrees. So I think this will be a nice way to round us off for this office hours. State machines and PartyKit equals 3D printing live organisms.
Sort of. I like it.
All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate it when you're here live in the comments. It makes all the difference. We love your questions. If you have any questions that you want us to answer on another office hours, or if you want us to do a live stream about anything in particular, do let us know. You know, you can find us on Discord. Oh, we got a new URL for that, haven't we? There we go. Discord.stately.ai. It's the same URL as before, but it'll get you there quicker and easier. And you can find us as Stately and Stately AI on pretty much all of the platforms. We would love to hear from you. And I love the idea that John is now going to bully Farzad about what he's working on every week. So thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you all very soon. Goodbye.
See you all.